Okay, Kelly, tell us a little bit about yourself. So you're here from where?
Vancouver, Canada.
And you've been in the business for how long?
This is my 13th year.
Did you have like 3 layovers to get here?
No, I went to Montreal first. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Spent some time in Montreal. So 13 years in the business, and the folks can see it up there on the screen. In 2023, you did 166 units for 67 million in volume.
Yeah.
2024, you're on pace for 175 units and 75 million in volume. You've taken pretty much almost every program we have, it looks like.
I'm all in, Jeff.
Yep. Your coach is also James.
Yes, he is.
And let's jump into your business. So let's start with your top 3 sources.
Well, I've been since the beginning an investment realtor. My background career-wise is I was a CPA originally. I sort of didn't like record keeping for other people's success, so I became an entrepreneur, started a clothing company.
Yep.
That ultimately I had a lot of debt from. I saw an infomercial on buying real estate with no money down, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, started taking a lot of training, and ultimately became a mentor for the Rich Dad Education and worked all over Canada helping people build portfolios.
So you found a niche, you went all in on it, and you became known for that.
Yes.
And then something happened. What changed in your country that had caused you to shift in a different direction?
So the government typically, firstly, we've had 10 interest rate hikes. So the easy formula that I've had, which was to just buy rental properties, rent to owns, Airbnb, all of these things have been under attack for the last year and a half. It became harder and harder to cash flow. Airbnbs became banned. So we had to just shift, innovate, and change who we were.
Yep.
Fortunately, 2 years ago, we heard about Glover U. On a whim, we came here, and we realized we have to reinvent our entire business because we built it on niche knowledge, not like a regular realtor.
So you had to shift from investor focus to what? What sources are you working now?
Well, we shifted towards more regular residential real estate, some for sale by owners, more and more open houses. We added sort of the traditional channels, but we also were always doing some commercial, and most recently we've gotten a lot of commercial leasing business. We've got a lot of business sale business.
Yeah.
So we've just sort of taken everything that's been coming at us, knowing that the market has shifted, the inventory levels are up, and that we're trying to become like regular.
So if I'm in the audience, I might be wondering, how did you make that shift? Because some people in the audience might be mostly database and they want to go all in on for sale by owners, or they might be mostly for sale by owners and they want to go all in on database. In your case, you were investors and then you went all in on a handful of sources that we teach. How did you make that shift?
Well, we took all the training, and you're so actionable in what you teach, and so we were able to sort of replicate from the training all these different sources. But at the same time, we've always been innovators. Right through COVID, we were doing Costco-style open houses. When we were shut down, we were still running opens virtually. We just sort of learned.
What do you call them?
We call them Costco style because we put them 6 feet apart outside for the open houses.
Oh, the signs.
The signs, but the people could go 6 feet apart. We ultimately were allowed to go live again. And around that time, one of my coaches said, you've got to be on video, you've got to be on the internet, or you're going to be out of business. So being Gen X, it's a little tougher for me, but we hired a videographer on staff and we started to go on YouTube for our listings. But we haven't evolved to your level. But I do have a lot of younger people on my team. And that keeps it all young.
Sure. And for you, that was just doing the video, that was something new and probably a little uncomfortable to some degree.
They take it into YouTube Shorts and they split it out through Instagram.
One of the things that I know that you have developed since you started coming to Glover U is the database value proposition. Can you talk to us about how you've implemented our database value proposition in your business?
Yeah, so we follow the database plan that you've given us with all of the database boxes, VIP boxes. This was the first year that we've done that, but we became very strategic about our client events. So we heard Dan Hosabri on stage, the Ice Cream Social. So
he's here.
2 years into doing the Ice Cream Social, and we gave out 1,000 ice creams 2 years in a row. We pulled everything on an Evite. We got 600 people's information. So this was all new to us, including our clients. We did a brew pub event, which we're replicating this year. We've got our pies. Thanksgiving's in October in Canada, and then our Christmas party. And so rather than just flying by the seat of our pants, we now have all of these strategies in place.
Okay. So when you look at all the things you implemented, what are 1 or 2 that you say, for sure, if you're in this audience, database value proposition, we believe this one gets our best return. What would that be, one or two?
Well, the client events, I would
The
say.
client events.
I mean, the database plan, the packages being sent out is just something fairly new, so it's hard for me to assess the ROI at this point.
Yeah, but the client events would be your number one ROI with the database.
Sure.
And what's your top client event?
I would say the brew pub one is probably the best event. And what I've done over the last few months, of course, because I'm very focused on profitability, is gotten the vendors to pay for everything. So that's
Yep.
a big change, getting sponsors, giving
Yeah.
them different levels.
So can you explain to us what your brew pub client event is?
So basically, we invite our clients to come and have free beer and food downtown Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
We've got swag bags ready with beer glasses with our team logo on it
Yep.
and a whole bunch of other items in the swag bags.
Mm-hmm.
We have it for about 3 hours. We have a mic. I speak and the vendors speak. They have little 1 minute
Yeah.
intervals. And
How often do you speak during that?
I think it was only twice,
Okay.
at the beginning and at the end.
Yeah.
And I introduced the vendors in
Sure.
each one.
Yep.
And
So they're seeing you, they're hearing from you. About how many people come to that?
about 100.
About 100. And how many people do you invite to get 100 to show up?
We put it out through our whole database, so at least 1,000.
Okay, you invite 1,000, about 10% show up. And what's the process of them showing up? Like, do they have to fill out a form? Do they have to click a link? What does that look
Yeah,
like?
usually an Evite registration.
Mm-hmm.
But then some of them show up or call me and say that they're coming, so we add them to the list.
Do you allow them to invite guests?
We haven't up until now, but we
Okay.
learned that from you.
Yeah.
And also, Laura Jalot was kind enough. We went to see her pork and tunes in Oregon.
Yeah.
And we got to see a really big client event, and that's how we replicated as well with her help.
Yep. Yeah, she throws a great client event. So how do you get them to remember to give you business? I think there's a lot of agents in the audience that are like, okay, I've been hearing about client events, but how do you quantify a client event? How do you get them to want to send you business after the event?
Well, we're getting better because we've seen from the way Laura does it, we're getting better at asking them right on the spot, like in the registration.
Yep.
And also when they come to the event. But because I am a numbers person, I always know which listings or buyers came as a result of the event.
Okay.
So I can always tell sort of.
Yeah. So when you say you ask them on the spot, what do you ask them? Are you looking to buy or sell? What does that look like?
That's right. Or in our case, invest, because we're still servicing investors.
Yep.
It's still our niche. And the niche that we had, we're 19,000 realtors in our market, and there's only about 5 of us that are really hardcore specialists.
Sure. So back to the asking if they're looking to buy or sell. You said you do that twice due to the event. Is that first in the invite? Then we get where does that fall in?
Yeah, in the invite, we've learned sort of from Laura's spreadsheets that she keeps
Yep.
to ask that in that Excel worksheet, and then at the event as well when they register.
Yeah. Laura Jalot, she's a Glover U coach. She's teaching a breakout, I believe, on database and client events. So that's good. She'll touch on that, I'm sure. So you're asking them during the event, and then you're asking them when they're there.
Yeah, when they come in and register and get their swag bag, yes.
So when they come in and register, they have to fill out a form again, or what does that look like?
Yeah, the person that's handling the registration.
So someone's checking them in, handing them an iPad, first name, last name. Tell us what's on that.
Basically, just are you looking to buy, sell, or invest in the next 3 to 6 months?
So it's simple. First name, last name, and that one question.
Yeah.
Got it. No other questions?
No, not at this point, but we will get better. You know, we're still fairly new.
No. I think keeping it simple, that's what I was getting at. I don't think you want to inundate them with a bunch of questions when they show up for your client event. But what you're doing is you're planting the seed twice.
Yes.
Do you plant the seed at any other points during the event, whether when you're on the microphone or at the end when they're leaving? How do you?
But you bring up a good point. We should do that for sure.
Yeah, at least one more time before they go. And then what's the follow-up like? One of the things I've found with our client events is that we find we have more success when we follow up afterwards and either thank them for coming or say, sorry, I missed you. Do you do any follow-up afterwards?
We're not very good at that at this point, but we.
Okay. All right, you will be. All right, I love that. So when you look at your business today, outside of the brew pub event, is there anything else with database that you would say, yep, you got to do this. This is a difference maker for us?
Well, we did a big event recently, actually. This 2023 was our first year that we hit what's called the President's Club, or the top 1%. Mm-hmm. And our videographer.
That's good, yeah.
Our videographer did a documentary on our journey to the top 1%. Mm-hmm. And because we're in Vancouver, which is Hollywood North, we have a client in the movie industry. Mm-hmm. So we did a whole movie studio event where our clients came and we had popcorn and chocolate and champagne and everything.
Yeah.
And it's a 45-minute documentary on YouTube. And
Yep.
so that was, you know, I would say our biggest innovation this year.
Yeah, that's
That
cool.
we're going to continue to use clips of on social media as well.
When you look at your database value proposition as a whole, one of the things we talk about is you have to do things that you would get value from. So have you gone through over the last couple of years and done a database audit and eliminated the things that you wouldn't really get value from? Because it sounds like you're adding things that are things you would enjoy or things that you would get value from. Have you went through that process?
No, I wouldn't say so, because you see, in the past, we were just selling investment real estate. People just came to us because we were the best in the industry. So all of that is things that we definitely have to get better at.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, we might want to add that piece to it. At the end of the day, with your databases, always look at everything you do every year and just ask yourself a simple question. Would I get value from that?
Yeah.
Would I get value from that? And if the answer is yes, you continue it. And if the answer is no, get rid of it and reinvent, which it sounds like you've done some of the reinventing anyways.
Yeah.
So last thing I wanted to talk to you about is you're super heavy on listings. Were you always heavy on listings?
No, we were buyer heavy, because people would come to us and say, I've got $200,000 to invest. What should I do? We were consultants, basically.
Yep.
And we complete shift to listings.
And how did you do that? Like, where did you start? Where does one start to shift from buyer to seller business?
Some mentally, firstly, we shifted, but some of it was just that.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we identified ourselves as buyer's agents, and we shifted with Glover's teaching that we had to be in listings. So once we started to realize that, we started to go after our clients, looking for listings.
Yeah.
And at the same time, interest rates were going higher and higher and higher, and people were going more and more negative cash flow on their
Yep.
holdings. So it wasn't too difficult to call clients up and say, hey, are there any properties that you're thinking of selling?
Yep.
And we started to gain more and more listings. And I think right now we have about 31 listings.
31 listings right now. Good for you. Is that the most you've ever carried at one time?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. You mentioned to me that you use Sales Rocket as part of your training, onboarding, and you guys are all in as far as that goes. What does that look like for your team?
Well, right now, what we've been doing is, new people have to do it, the Sales Rocket. But for our team, we just sit down once a week and we do a session a week.
You do one session per week.
Yeah.
So there's like 34, 5, 6 sessions. I don't know. We're always adding them. And you do one per week. What does that look like? Like, do you debrief afterwards? Walk us through that.
We chat after we watch it about, what we got from it and, what we're going to change. We take notes during the meeting. And,
Yep.
quite frankly, I think we're going to have to watch it multiple times, but it's
Yeah.
just getting us in the habit of getting through.
Yeah, so once a week as a group, and then are there action items, there's homework? I mean, at the end of every session, of course, I assign the homework, which
Well, we do our
makes your life easier.
Is to make sure we got the content right.
Yeah, so you go through the quiz, which is part of the platform. And then do you follow up with, okay, how do we do on this? Because each week it's a new topic, obviously. So when the next week rolls around, are you following up on last week's topic?
We haven't been doing that, but we basically look at each other and say, we got to change this right now.
Yeah, yeah. So for an area of opportunity, that for those of you that are using Sales Rocket with your teams, make sure at the end of every session, homework's assigned. So you don't have to do that. I do the heavy lifting for you on that. But the next week, come back and follow up on that homework.
First.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Kelly.